नमस्ते। जो आज हमारे साथ जुड़ रहे हैं, मेरा नाम वानी मनोराज है एंड ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ चेतना कॉन्शियंस ऑफ वुमेन आई विल बी मॉडरेटिंग टुडे सेशन। आज के सेशन में हम डिस्कस करेंगे ड्रग अब्यूज इन रिलेशन विद चिल्ड्रन, the ways drug abuse impacts a child's health, what a parent can do to ensure drug addiction, as well as the laws relating to drug abuse of children in our country. इससे पहले हम शुरू करें, मैं आपको चेतना से इंट्रोड्यूस कराना चाहूंगी। चेतना was founded by Mrs. Pragya Parande, who is currently the member of National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. Chetna was founded with the mission to empower and enable women and children to become positive change agents in society. Pragya ma'am has been a champion of child rights, and the current webinar series is being organized and envisioned by her and organized under her guidance. चेतना के जो भी प्रोग्राम्स हैं वो 5 वर्टिकल्स के अंदर है एंड वो सारे प्रोग्राम्स जो हैं वो यूनाइटेड नेशन सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट गोल्स को अचीव करने में मदद करते हैं। अगर आपको चेतना के बारे में और हमारे काम के बारे में और जानकारी चाहिए तो आप हमारे फेसबुक और इंस्टाग्राम अकाउंट के साथ कनेक्ट कर सकते हैं। आप हमारी मदद कर सकते हैं। यू कैन असिस्ट अस बाय कंट्रीब्यूटिंग एंड डोनेटिंग। जो इंफॉर्मेशन इज now available on your screens. Today we are joined by our panelists with whom we'll be discussing today's topic. We have with us Advocate Akhilesh Vyas sir. Sir is an advocate in the High Court of Punjab and Haryana with more than 12 years experience in civil and criminal law. He has participated in various conferences and seminars and published articles in noted journals. We also have with us Dr. Rajiv Mehta sir. Sir is a consultant psychiatrist and vice chairperson of Institute of Psychiatry and Behavioral Science, Sri Gangaram Hospital, Delhi. He is also the author of the book Speak to Anyone Easily. We have with us Dr. Indumati Rao ma'am. Ma'am is the regional advisor for CBR Network South Asia and advisor to the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights with experience in the field of social development for persons with disability. Thank you so much to our panelists for joining us today. इंदुमती मैम, मैं आपसे सबसे पहले आपसे शुरू करूंगी मैम। मैम, जो कॉमन रीजंस जो होते हैं फॉर बच्चे जो ड्रग अब्यूज में जो विक्टिम्स बन जाते हैं ड्रग अब्यूज के, मैम वो रीजंस क्या होते हैं?
At the outset, I wish to thank Chetana and Pragna ji for organizing this excellent, very relevant, very appropriate issue which we all need to discuss a lot more in depth. So I congratulate Chetana for that. I won't be able to speak fluently in Hindi. Please forgive me. So
Sure.
Basically, I would look at that one big question: why and how things go wrong, especially when we are talking about children. What exactly happens? So that is something very important for us to understand before we go into the how of it and what kind of solutions we can offer to this issue of drug abuse among children. So there are many laws. In spite of that, we see a lot of drug abuse taking place. In my experience, I have seen everything starts out of curiosity. So it starts very innocently out of curiosity, and the curiosity which drives a child to get into, say, trying out something. So it could be classmates, it could be friends, it could be others. So that is one of the main reason. The second one is also looking at parents for consuming tablets for the diabetes or blood pressure or whatever it is. Children think it is very normal to consume something, and that concept would lead them to take something on a regular basis of consuming something. The third aspect I would like to go into details is, are there any psychological triggers that makes a child to get into it? Of course, yes. With this kind of stressful education system, stressful life, with both parents working, there's a lot of stress among children and children being left alone. So what really happens is all these factors really triggers a child to try out something which is more exciting. So here I would say that something more exciting, something out of curiosity, or the underlying causes for a child to explore these things. Thank you.
जी ma'am, another question that we have is that it, like you've said, that it is usually curiosity that the child gets into drugs and drug abuse. Ma'am, what are the ways in which a child can access these drugs? Because
See,
curiosity is one thing. Ji ma'am.
yeah, no, no, you please complete your sentence.
Ma'am, I think curiosity is one thing, but accessibility to the drugs is another. And drug addiction only happens when you are able to access these drugs. So, what, according to you, would be the ways in which a child accesses drugs, ma'am?
No, see, basically, I would say that child would try out whatever others members in the family would be trying it out. No, it would all start with maybe going for smoking a cigarette, smoking a BD, or it all starts with that. But a little higher, it is the peer group that is there, which may have, which may introduce. And later, we also see that a lot of, say, menace in schools where there are drug peddlers who constantly see, support abuse children by supplying drugs in different forms. It could be a candy, it could be a chocolate or a biscuit. So we have seen all that. So I would say that there are no simple solutions. So that is one of the major ones. The second one is, of course, the medical professionals. There's a lot of prescription drugs, which we see children taking central nervous system depressants, CNDs, which are prescribed by the doctors. So, especially for children with disabilities like attention deficit disorders or children with mental retardation, we see a lot of drugs have been prescribed which are totally unnecessary. So, unnecessary, I would say that instead of managing behaviors, it is suppressing the behaviors with CATs. That is also rampant. So, we have to see the whole issue in a very holistic way. There are no simple solutions because prescriptive drugs, if they stop, a lot could be stopped. And if we can really look into more of monitoring at schools, like what children eat and whom they meet, a lot could be stopped. But I would say that when I was looking for the data, we really don't have an idea what the size of the problem in India. We are looking at only urban schools, but in the villages, we also see a lot of rampant abuse of drugs in children. So we don't really have data. So it is almost like groping in darkness. Thank you. Thank you.
कि prescription drugs जो हैं happens because of that. Children do get addicted and they are introduced to the drugs because of prescription drugs for any underlying reasons that they might have or for some disease that they might have. And मैम जो आपने दूसरा पॉइंट कहा कि उसमें हमारे पास डेटा नहीं है एंड अगर डेटा नहीं है तो हम समझ नहीं सकते ये जो प्रॉब्लम है इसका पूरा स्कोप क्या है. Ma'am, when you were talking about prescription drugs, this is very new to me. Ma'am, what should the parents and the doctors who are prescribing these drugs take into consideration when they have a child who might be vulnerable to drug abuse, ma'am?
Okay. First, I would like to highlight and share the 8 key reasons why children get, especially during adolescence, to the prescription drugs. They are boredom, misinformation, depression or anxiety, and access to prescription medications. But someone like a parent may be taking, or a sister may be taking, brother are taking. So that kind of access that is there, and lack of self confidence, peer pressure, and genetics. They say that it is genetics which loads the gun, but it's the lifestyle which triggers the switch. But there could be also genetic reasons for a child to go towards the drugs, and the environment, if it's acceptability, because in many places it's perfectly all right for a child to consume. I have worked a lot in the rural areas in in the field of disability in India and also in 7 South Asian countries. It is so common to drug children when they are young to put them to sleep. So this is there are so many misconceptions about the alcohol, the local variety, where it is all given, and it is given right from the beginning to calm children, to put them to sleep, and they also have misconception that it is very good for health of the child. So we have multiple factors. As I said, this prescription drugs, which I see a lot with children with difficulties in studying, difficulty in memory, and difficulty in say attention. So the whole group of children, I would say, with diverse special needs. I'm not just talking about disability. When they go to doctor, there is some prescription. I really feel that kind of prescription, whether it is nervous system depressants or the other kind of calming down, say, medication, all that is the entry into drugging. So I feel it is so important to strictly look at the law, like what kind of medication should be given for children, especially in the 0 to 18 years age group. Now we have Child Rights Act and Child Rights Policy and NEP 2020. We have to really look into details on why there is prescription by doctors. Why? See, my there is really no in my field. I have seen this suppressing the behavior, suppressing the problems with medication for children is a disastrous. They just come to school and they feel very sleepy. So beyond that, nothing much happens. It is like say we are just suppressing without really addressing the core issues. The core issues, as I said, there are 8 issues: boredom, misinformation, depression, anxiety, fear, and access to medications, lack of self confidence, peer pressure, environment. And I would not really play genetics a big one because everyone has something to do with genetics, but it is only it loads the gun. So the real trigger is again environment and the pressure in lifestyle, in the pressure in education, that is really causing a lot of stress in children. So why a child is always stressed? I don't see smile. Okay, because there is no scope for them to go out and play or to work with the activities of their say desire. So it is so much pressure, like they're like robots, no, running from one exam to another exam, one test to another test. So and there is no parenting. It is all part-time parenting. All that would lead to these problems. So that we are actually we I feel with the modern lifestyle, forgetting our old values, we are inviting many problems. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Uh, Rajiv, sir, I would like to ask you this question now that ma'am has presented us with this, with the various aspects of drug abuse. Sir, one of the question is, what is the impact of drug abuse on the child's health? We know drug abuse is a very bad habit. You know, using drugs is a bad habit. But how does it impacts the child's health?
It impacts in each and every way, physically also, mentally also, academically also. Mentally, if you see, the childs are already genetically vulnerable to addiction as well as other mental disorders. The drugs play with the child's neurochemistry and alters it in such a way that the proneness is exposed. The child can have further enhancement of depression, anxiety, fearfulness, and even sometimes the psychotic symptoms like delusions and hallucinations. More so common with the cannabis, which is easily available and used as weed, sulfa, charas, ganja, joint, these kind of things. The psychotic symptoms are more over there. So that is one, the mental health. The physical health, because they are unable to give time to the other activities, their physical health also deteriorates, right? They get malnourished or they get obese, depending on from what background they are coming. Then there is an academic decline. Then there is a social decline. The relationship with the parents, with the other peers decline. They generally tend to get to those companies who are already in drug. So in general, they form a downtrodden company and they get hooked to that. And in the long term also, the dependence then increases and that they adventure with other kind of drugs altogether, hampering their physical and mental health and the relationships also.
जी सर. Sir, since you said I think you've already mentioned these points, but अगर आप इनको फिर से दोहरा सकते हैं. Sir, हम as a parent or as somebody who knows a child who might be using drugs, sir, symptoms क्या है जिससे पता चलेगा कि हाँ ये बच्चा ड्रग्स को अब्यूज कर रहा है?
देखिए, जो ड्रग अब्यूज शुरू होती है जनरली 13 इयर्स एंड ऑनवर्ड शुरू होती है, उससे पहले नहीं होता है. और जो सिम्टम्स होंगे उसके अंदर सबसे पहले ये होगा कि वो चुपचाप रहने लगेगा, अलग से रहने लगेगा, घर में लेट आना शुरू होगा, पैसे चुराना शुरू करेगा, लोगों से नजरें चुराकर कोने में रहने की कोशिश करेगा, बातें कम करेगा घर के अंदर, बेवजह गुस्सा आने लगेगा उसको, और कई बार आंखों के अंदर लालपन दिखाई देता है. दीज आर द बेसिक क्रॉनिक सिम्टम्स. कई बार आप बैग चेक करेंगे तो उसके अंदर चीजें मिलेंगी. अगर वो रूरल एरियाज के अंदर जैसे बीड़ी बहुत ज्यादा अब्यूज होती है तो बीड़ी के बर्न चीजें मिलेंगी आपके कपड़ों के ऊपर. अगर आप नाखून देखेंगे तो वहां पर कुछ ना कुछ आपको डिस्कलरेशन वगैरह मिलेगी. So these are the symptoms with which the children present, or these are the look for symptoms basically in children with drug
थैंक यू
abuse.
सर. ये जो आपने सिम्टम्स बताए हैं, ये ऑब्वियसली हमारे ऑडियंस से मैं ये कहना चाहूंगी कि ये सिर्फ तरीके हैं पता करने के, आइडेंटिफाई करने के कि बच्चे अगर ड्रग अब्यूज कर रहे हैं. आप उनसे बात करिए, वो ज्यादा इफेक्टिव होगा जानने के लिए कि वो कर रहे हैं कि नहीं. सर,
उससे ज्यादा इफेक्टिव है कि आप उसी टाइम यूरिन टेस्ट करा लें उनका, क्योंकि उसके अंदर सिर्फ नोक झोंक चलती रहती है. जब आपको कहीं समझ में आ रहा है कि ये बच्चा यूज कर रहा है तो आप यूरिन टेस्ट चुपचाप करा लीजिए, उससे बेहतर तरीके से पता लगेगा एंड फिर उसके बाद आप उसको कन्फ्रंट कर सकते हैं या डिस्कस कर सकते हैं.
सर, अगर कोई बच्चा कर रहा है ना, हमने आइडेंटिफाई कर लिया है कि हाँ वो कर रहा है, तो सर इसके आगे का प्रोसेस क्या होना चाहिए? हाउ डू वी इंश्योर कि बच्चों का डी एडिक्शन जो प्रोसेस है वो शुरू करवाया जाए, और वो माँ बाप अपने बच्चों से कैसे बात करें इस बारे में?
देखिए, इसके अंदर कई सारे स्टेप्स हैं. सबसे पहला स्टेप है कि उसको डिटॉक्सिफाई करना है. उसको डिटॉक्सिफाई करने के लिए आपको किसी ना किसी साइकेट्रिस्ट की हेल्प लेनी होती है. वो उसको डिटॉक्सिफाई करते हैं. हर ड्रग का अलग अलग तरह का डिटॉक्सिफिकेशन होता है. किसी के अंदर कोई दवाई यूज करके किया जाता है, कभी बगैर दवाई के यूज करके भी किया जाता है. तो डिटॉक्सिफिकेशन पहला स्टेप है. फिर सेकंड स्टेप होता है रिहैबिलिटेशन. रिहैबिलिटेशन का मतलब होता है कि वो बच्चा दोबारा से उन चीजों को यूज ना करे. उसके लिए कई बार हम एंटी क्रेविंग एजेंट्स देते हैं ताकि वो क्रेविंग ना हो. प्लस अंडरलाइंग कारण कि किस कारण उसने शुरू किया, उसके ऊपर एड्रेस होता है. वो अंडरलाइंग कारण हमें समझना है कि पेरेंट्स दोनों वर्किंग है, पेरेंटिंग स्टाइल गलत है, एकेडमिक प्रेशर ज्यादा है, पीयर प्रेशर ज्यादा है, जेनेटिक वनरेबिलिटी है, क्या है क्या नहीं है. उन कारण के ऊपर फिर हम वर्क करना शुरू करते हैं. डिप्रेशन और एंजाइटी है तो उसका ट्रीटमेंट होता है, चाहे वो काउंसलिंग से हो चाहे वो दवाई से हो. अक्सर दवाई यूज होती है जब ऐसी चीजें होती हैं. तो फिर पेरेंटिंग स्टाइल गड़बड़ है तो हम उस पेरेंटिंग स्टाइल पर जाते हैं. अगर उसका ग्रुप कॉमन है ऐसा तो ग्रुप हटवाकर उसको ऑल्टरनेट एक्टिविटीज दी जाती हैं. हटाना एक अलग चीज है और उसके लिए ऑल्टरनेट एक्टिविटीज देना एक अलग चीज है. एकेडमिक प्रेशर है तो उसको डील किया जाता है, पीयर प्रेशर है तो उसको डील किया जाता है, फिर उसके कारण पर जाया जाता है.
जी सर, 2-3 पॉइंट्स आई विल रीइटरेट फॉर आवर ऑडियंस. एक है कि आप प्रोफेशनल हेल्प लीजिए अगर आपको पता है कि आपके बच्चा अब्यूज कर रहा है या आपके जानने में कोई बच्चा है. सो प्रोफेशनल हेल्प इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. एंड जो डी एडिक्शन का प्रोसेस है वो एक प्रोसेस है, वो काफी लॉन्ग टर्म प्रोसेस होता है. एंड उसमें आपको हमेशा निगरानी आपको रखनी चाहिए बच्चों की. एंड बच्चा एक कल्प्रिट नहीं है, वो बीमार है. He's a patient, so please see the child as a patient and not as somebody else or as a culprit or as an accused. He's a patient. आप उसकी वैसे ही मदद करिए जैसे कोई अगर किसी को पेट में दर्द हो रहा हो तो जैसे मदद होती है वैसे ही जो बच्चा डी एडिक्शन के प्रोसेस से जा रहा है वो भी एक पेशेंट ही है। सर
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल ठीक है आपने।
सर जब छोटे बच्चे जो होते हैं उनका जो टाइम है वो दो जगह डिस्ट्रीब्यूट होता है, एक होता है घर में, एक होता है स्कूल में। स्कूल में वो करते हैं वो उनकी एक अलग लाइफ होती है, घर में जो करते हैं वो अलग लाइफ होती है। तो सर स्कूल की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी क्या होती है इन इंश्योरिंग कि वो बच्चों को आइडेंटिफाई करें, एंड स्कूल्स में से कौन से मेजर्स लिए जा सकते हैं जिसमें बच्चे जो ड्रग एडिक्शन में फंस रहे हैं उनको आइडेंटिफाई करके उनकी मदद की जा सके?
देखिए, इस चीज को हम दो तरीके से समझ सकते हैं, प्रिवेंटिव एंड क्यूरेटिव। प्रिवेंटिव स्टेट के अंदर ये है कि बहुत सारा एजुकेशन मटेरियल अवेलेबल कराएं, जैसे कि मॉरल एजुकेशन की क्लासेस होती हैं या कुछ स्पेशल क्लासेस ली जा सकती हैं 7th ऑनवर्ड्स के बच्चों की, जहां पर ड्रग्स एंड देयर नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट्स के बारे में बताया जाए। देन आपको प्रिवेंटिव के लिए जो वनरेबल चाइल्ड हैं, जब आप उनके पेरेंट्स के बारे में पूछते हैं, बाकी चीजों के बारे में पूछते हैं, तो आपको समझ में आता है कि कौन से वनरेबल चाइल्ड हैं, किसके अंदर जेनेटिक वनरेबिलिटी है नहीं है, और कौन डिप्रेशन से या एंजाइटी से जा रहा है या नहीं जा रहा। तो वहां पर आप पकड़कर उनको प्रिवेंशन कर सकते हैं कि उनको अप्रोप्रिएट प्रोफेशनल अथॉरिटी के पास भेजा जाए। फिर आता है क्यूरेटिव। क्यूरेटिव के अंदर आपको साइंस दिखाई देने लगते हैं कि कौन कौन सा बच्चा यूज कर रहा है। जनरली वो क्लास बंक करेगा, क्लास में सो रहा होगा, या बहुत ज्यादा फोकस नहीं होगा उसका, उसके बैग के अंदर कुछ ना कुछ डिस्कलरेशन मिलेगा आपको। फिर ऐसे बच्चे जब मिले तो उनको हमने क्यूरेशन के लिए भेजना है, उनको कन्फ्रंट करना है या उनके माँ बाप को बुलाना है, एग्जैक्टली पता करना है कि वो ड्रग्स यूज कर रहे हैं या नहीं कर रहे, एंड देन फिर उसके बाद प्रोफेशनल हेल्प की तरफ फिर जाएं।
थैंक यू सर। इंदुमती मैम, मैं आपसे पूछना चाहूंगी कि जब हम ड्रग अब्यूज के बारे में बात, when we talk about drug abuse, we usually talk about drug abuse with relation to children who have parents. But then there are also children who live in childcare institutions, who may or may not have their parents with them, and they're more vulnerable to drug abuse. Or we have children who are living on the streets, and a study conducted by National Commission for Protection of Child Rights has found that children who are living on streets are more vulnerable to the use of drugs. So, ma'am, what can be done from an institutional perspective to protect these children from drug abuse, ma'am?
I think this is again a very critical, challenging issue. I would put it into three groups where I have seen the juvenile delinquency. The homes that is run by with the government aid in many states. So these homes are run where children with petty crimes, they are there for a short period of time, and then they are sent to the homes. So that is first center. The second is those who are abandoned children. So they stay in homes, and these homes are also seen as a transit homes because those homes have to look for adoption and finding a family, a home for the child. So they are not supposed to stay in homes for a very long period. We have to also see the laws, which are in place, but what exactly happens in reality. So why children are staying for a longer period is also because of they are not able to find the families for these children. The third group is the group of children where it is very difficult, where they are abandoned or even they are sent, because we have seen many children who are supposed to be children on streets. We have been able to trace back the parents, and all those parents we could trace back living in rural areas, but they are sent to these homes because someone has promised them within the I would say that it would may start with an Anganwadi worker or a teacher saying that this is an institution where child will learn better. So that is how the children are sent to these homes, because we have to address that problem, because that is rampant, where parents are in wrong say notion that the child is safe and learning in some institution, but these institutions are meant for children who are say homeless, but they have a home, but they're treated as homeless. So we need to really look into that aspect very seriously, because prevention is very important in this area. and especially with children with disabilities, we see a lot on say institutions. They want the numbers, they want children. So these they are told that these are the learning centers, training centers. That is how children get into these urban centers. So this we have to really prevent and look at the implementation of laws very strictly, which is not happening according to my experience. The second aspect is most of these homes where there are caregivers but not parents. So what do they do? So what do they do? I would say the more vulnerable the child is, the more vulnerable the child is. I would like to repeat, the higher the possibility of drugging those children, higher the possibility for many reasons. One is about these caregivers are not trained on either taking care of children with say behavioral issue or other issues. So the easiest way is to drug them. So drug them and put them to sleep. And we see that a lot of mortality in these homes. I cannot disclose some of the things what I have seen, but very high level of mortality in these homes. If we conduct a study on just on this issue, like what is the mortality of children in these homes, that is going to really speak volumes, and there would be million skeletons in the cupboard. So we are just groping in darkness. We have no idea what is happening, and there's a lot of glorification of these homes. And we have to really look at what is the malnutrition level in these homes for children, and what kind of mortality, and what are the other various psychological and even I would say psychiatric concerns for children who stay in these homes. So the I would say is untrained people is one, and sending children even though the parents are alive is it should be seen as a very severe offense, and they should be punished. Whoever recommends, because about 66% of children where I have conducted a study, they all had parents. They all had parents, and we could trace back the children, and they were all say living in villages near and in and around say Bangalore. But they were brought to these centers, because these centers they have to run only with a minimum number. So this is something which we really need to look into, how we can prevent it, because any day children are safe with parents, any day. No caregiver so can give the kind of warmth, love and care a parent can give. So we have to really look at this very strictly. The second aspect is to look at inside the institutions, what is really happening, what kind of monitoring say we have. So that is something which we have a long way to go, because unless we really look into the kind of mortality and the other abuses that takes place for children within these homes, it is not possible for us to take steps. I feel stringent action, surprise visits, CCTVs everywhere, and reporting that into the authorities, and transparent authorities who would go get into the nitty gritty issues that takes place. All that is the real need of the day. Okay. So I promote a philosophy called community-based rehabilitation, where we work against disintegration of children away from the families and the communities. But when I see the numbers increasing for in the institutions, that is really a sign that our society is not as responsible as it should be. So something is happening. And when you look at the parent, I feel even they are innocent, because they send them to these centers thinking that this is the best option for the child. But they are not even aware that these homes are meant for orphans, children who are shelterless. So we really need to look into that very seriously. Thank you.
दोस्त आपने बहुत सही, बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट्स कहे हैं कि हम चाइल्ड केयर इंस्टीट्यूशन के बारे में बात करते हैं, हमारे पास डेटा नहीं है, डेटा कलेक्ट करने की बहुत ज़रूरत है, एंड फैमिली बेस्ड केयर की बहुत ज़रूरत है. एट द एंड ऑफ द डे जो फैमिली है वही बच्चे को उसको सही राह दिखा सकती है. एंड जो बच्चे चाइल्ड केयर इंस्टीट्यूशंस में हैं, जो हमारे जुवेनाइल जस्टिस एक्ट के अंदर जो रिहैबिलिटेशन प्रोसेस है, उसमें भी कम्युनिटी बेस्ड केयर के बारे में काफी प्रोविजंस हैं, लेकिन उनको इम्प्लीमेंट करने की ज्यादा जरूरत है. राजीव सर, आई वुड कम टू यू एंड आई वुड लाइक टू आस्क यू कि जब हम ड्रग अब्यूज के बारे में बात करते हैं तो एक और पहलू होता है, वो है जब जो माँ बाप हैं वो ड्रग अब्यूज कर रहे हैं और बच्चे छोटे हैं और वो उस चीज को देख रहे हैं. तो सर, क्या आप बता सकते हैं कि ये जो सिनेरियो है जहाँ जो मम्मी पापा हैं बच्चे के वो ड्रग अब्यूज कर रहे हैं, बच्चा वहां पे ये देख रहा है, उस पे क्या इम्पैक्ट होता है, और इज द चाइल्ड मोर लाइकली टू बिकम अ विक्टिम ऑफ ड्रग अब्यूज?
कल टीचर्स डे था.
जी
हम ये कहते हैं कि माँ बाप सबसे बड़े टीचर्स होते हैं बच्चे के. अब बच्चे को रास्ता तो माँ बाप ने दिखाना है, तो जहां वो
Yes.
ऐसा देखेंगे कि उनके माँ बाप में से कोई भी इंसान, दोनों या एक, ड्रग एब्यूज करता है, चाहे वो सोशली करता है चाहे वो प्राइवेटली करता है, तो उसको एक चीज समझ में आएगी कि दैट इट इज एक्सेप्टेबल. नंबर वन. नंबर टू, इट इज एन इजी वे टू गेट आउट ऑफ द ट्रबल्स. राइट. तो ये दो चीजें जब समझ में आएंगी तो कभी भी उसकी लाइफ में कोई ट्रबल होगा तो सबसे पहले वो ड्रग अब्यूज की तरफ दौड़ेगा. और ऐसे बच्चों को ट्रबल होना बहुत ज्यादा देखा गया है, क्योंकि जो माँ बाप ऐसे ड्रग रेगुलर अब्यूज करते हैं, रादर डिपेंडेंट होते हैं, तो उनकी पेरेंटिंग स्टाइल भी ठीक नहीं होती, जिसकी वजह से वो बच्चों को ढंग से पाल नहीं पाते. बच्चों के अंदर अपनी तरह के डिप्रेशन, एंजाइटी, इंफियोरिटी कॉम्प्लेक्स, लैक ऑफ सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस, ये सारा पैदा होता है. तो फिर वो उसको तोड़ने के लिए खुद भी ड्रग अब्यूज करने लगते हैं. तो इन अ नटशेल, these children see it as an acceptable behavior, see it as a way to overcome their troubles, and moreover they are genetically vulnerable because the parents are already in drug dependent, so they tend to be dependent on these drugs more frequently rather than the children of other parents.
थैंक यू सर. इंदुमति मैम एंड राजीव सर, मैं आपसे लास्ट क्वेश्चन पुट करूंगी बिफोर आई मूव ऑन टू द लीगल एस्पेक्ट ऑफ ड्रग अब्यूज. एज एन इंडिविजुअल, what can I do to ensure children who are victims of drug abuse, how should I protect them, and how can I make people aware of the problems or the risk related to drug abuse? Indumati ma'am, I would like you to answer first.
The research shows, if we can encourage parents to get children involved in extracurricular activities, seva activities, okay, and to think beyond self. So that is the value that if that is given very young, there's something it is very very helpful for children to come out of it, because they're looking at an outlet, and these outlets could be getting into society, interacting with them, and also seeing children who are less fortunate for them and work with them. And when they do the volunteering or seva activities, the feel good factor, that is created, it is something which is really very helpful for them, and also to address the issues if there are minor challenges in their life. So that is something very important. Of course, we are looking at say sports, yoga, which are all very helpful for children to calm down their mind. But getting into creative activities, getting into seva activities. I am also vice chairperson for National Bal Bhavan. I see a large number of children from very underprivileged community getting and into the creative activities. So it really helps, and I would say that it's a very preventive step to involve children in creative activities, in seva activities from very very young age. I think that the way we see seva activities, we have to really see that with a slight change, that from the age of 3 or 4, it is very important to help children to look at others who have less than them and try to help them, because these values are totally absent, because in an environment of I, me, myself, I would say that it's what is happening is bound to happen. So to think beyond self and to think about others and to get an outlet to creativity is very very important. What we can do, I would certainly say that create awareness, but without hype, of using media which may not be very responsible. So I feel it is very important to do it in a very professional way. So the teachers, the Anganwadi workers, teachers, ASHA workers, they should all know on how to really identify and prevent, because the some of the issues what I have said in the rural areas, everyone knows. Even sometimes I have seen Anganwadi worker in their own family. I have seen people getting no, the child is not getting the kind of support that should be given. So the punishments is one of the main issues. The punishment is seen by children. It really is for a child to get punished is the kind of attention. So if a child is used only, say, in punishments, okay, abusing either verbal or physical or other kinds of abuse, these punishments itself becomes a reward, and they tend to get into more of these activities where they would get more punishment, and that works as a reward. It's a very complex cycle. So we really need to create awareness among the first level caregivers, that is parents, the second level caregivers, that is Anganwadi workers, ASHA workers, teachers, and doctors. I would say request doctors. So please, so don't prescribe. So this prescription drugs is really causing a lot of problems. In fact, I have been requesting the authorities to have a legal ban on prescription drugs. And it is also done. Sometimes the road to hell is paved with best of intentions. We see a lot of prescription drugs also in sports. So we have to really look into everything, and wherever there are prescription drugs, I think it should be seen as a violation of the law, and the offender should be strictly punished. So that is very important, and we have loads of prescription drugs going on in this country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a pleasure speaking with you and having your insight and experience that you have shared with us. Rajiv, sir, the same question. What can I as an individual do to ensure कि बच्चे जो drug abuse कर रहे हैं उनको मैं protect करूं?
I means पहले तो मैं ये समझना चाहूंगा, पहले मैं मैम के आंसर का क्वेश्चन का एक आंसर दूंगा प्रिस्क्रिप्शन ड्रग्स के लिए, और फिर मैं इस क्वेश्चन पे आऊंगा। पर मेरे को आई का मतलब नहीं समझ में आया। आई एज एन इंडिविजुअल मीन्स यू, आई इज अ पेरेंट, आई इज अ डॉक्टर, हु इज आई?
I as an individual, sir. I may be a sister, I may be a brother, I may be a parent. लेकिन अगर मेरे जानने में कोई बच्चा तो उसको मैं कैसे प्रोटेक्ट करूं?
Right.
मैं as
First
an
of
individual.
ठीक, I will come to that. Let me ask you one thing. See, we have weapons. Weapons are used by terrorists and weapons are used by army. It depends on the use. We have fire. We can cook food and we can burn anything. It depends on the use. So saying blanketly that prescription drugs are unlawful, that is very wrong. They are prescribed after years and years of research and to a particular person. Now, if they are misusing it, we have to look the reasons for misuse rather than banning the things, rather than saying it is unlawful. That will be then how we treat that. So I won't go into details of that. That is very well researched things that we can write medicines to whom and what medications can be right. And the government has made them in Schedule X drugs, Schedule H drugs, like the drugs which are used for attention deficit disorder are basically Schedule X drugs, which are given only in a 3-copied format. So we cannot say like this, that it is unlawful, we should not prescribe anything to the children. That is wrong. Number 2, as an individual, how we can help these children? That ma'am has explained wonderfully. See, it is all biological. What is dependence is basically a biological mechanism where the various neurotransmitter changes are there. We have 2 kinds of dependence. If we say the person who is vulnerable to dependence will always be dependent. The first dependence is bad dependence, whether it may be alcohol, whether it may be smoking, whether it may be inhalants or other things. The other dependence, which produces the same kind of biochemical changes in the brain, are good dependence. But the unfortunate thing is that those changes are brought up slowly, and you require to exert a lot of pressure to do that. Like yoga, you follow your hobbies, you follow your passion, exercise. these are good dependence. We have seen people who have done a lot of exercise, when they leave exercise they go into depression and other things. So अगर हम सिंपल तरीके से कहें कि बच्चे को भूख लगी है, तो वो बाजार का चाउमीन भी खा सकता है, घर का खाना भी खा सकता है, पर भूख तो लगी है। इसी तरह से डिपेंडेंस जो है वो एक जेनेटिक वल्नरेबिलिटी है, वो तो लगी है। अब उसके अंदर कौन सी डिपेंडेंस लगानी है, कि अच्छी लगानी है या बुरी लगानी है, ये इंपॉर्टेंट है। तो अच्छी डिपेंडेंस के लिए हमें एजुकेशन, अवेयरनेस क्रिएट करनी होगी, और बुरी डिपेंडेंस के लिए भी एजुकेशन और अवेयरनेस क्रिएट करनी होगी। और अच्छी डिपेंडेंस के हमें, जैसे स्पोर्ट्स हो गई, योगा हो गया, अदर एक्टिविटीज हो गए, उसके एवेन्यूज हमें एज अ सोसाइटी बढ़ाने पड़ेंगे और एजुकेट करना पड़ेगा।
Thank you, sir. Akhilesh, sir, I will now come to you to understand the laws which regulate drug abuse and the provisions within the various acts in our country. Sir, सबसे पहले अभी तक हमने drugs के बारे में काफी चर्चा की है, लेकिन legally how do we define a drug in our country? What is a drug, sir? Sir, am I
audible?
Ji sir, ji sir.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to the virtual session today. I'm highly obliged by the fact that the entire team of Chetna organization is working on such an important issue. As the other two key speakers of the webinar, Dr. Indumati Rao and Dr. Ajib Mehta, have already explained the knowledge sharing with regard to the topic of today, and I have been given the responsibility to put my views on the legal aspect of children and drug abuse. So before starting, I would like to state that nobody is an expert on the subject. So, but whatever I share today with you all will be based on my individual opinion. So now, going by the first question, that is with regard to the definition of the drug under the laws in India. So primarily, a comprehensive definition of term drug, as is also given under Section 3 of Drug Act 1940. It not only covers the medicine, but substances intended to be used for the treatment of diseases of humans and animals. Further, as far as the NDPS Act 1985 is concerned, definition of drug term has not been essentially codified, but yes, there are different types of definitions which have been given. First is under Section 28A, that is the essential narcotic drug, which means a narcotic drug as notified by the central government for medical and scientific use. Second, as far as Section 211 of the NDPS Act is concerned, they have defined the term manufactured drug. So manufactured drug, as far as the NDPS Act 1985 is concerned, has been defined as all cocoa derivatives, medicinal cannabis, opium derivatives, and poppy straw concentrate. Moving further, they have added that any other narcotic substance or preparation which the central government may, having with regard to the available information as to the nature or to a decision, if any under international convention, by notification of the official gazette, declared to be a manufactured drug. So now, after these three definitions, as we have to discuss today's subject, it will not be out of place to explain the definition of narcotic drug, which is also given under Section 2, subclause 14 of narcotic drug. So narcotic drug means coca leaf, cannabis, opium, poppy straw, and it also includes the manufactured goods as well. So before moving further, as we have to understand and we have to proceed with the understanding of the provisions of the NDPS Act, as well as with regard to the Juvenile Justice Act, it would be appropriate to understand and get hold of the definition of the psychotropic substance as well. So as far as the legal definition of psychotropic substance and relevance to the term drug is concerned, as defined in the Section 223, is that any substance which is natural or synthetic, or any natural material, or any salt or preparation of such substance or material included in the list of psychotropic substance as it is mentioned in the act of the schedule of the act, those definitions are also covered in the psychotropic substance. So these are the definitions under which the drug has been defined in the laws of India. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Sir, as you have explained, there are various acts which are defining what a drug is. In the same way, बहुत सारे laws हैं जो drugs relating to child, जो बच्चे use कर रहे हैं, उनके लिए specifically laws हैं. तो सर वो laws क्या होंगे?
Look, as far as those laws are concerned, as far as the Constitution of India is concerned, I would start with Article 15(3), which entrusted the state to make special provision for women and children. So there was a Children Act 1960, which is enacted for under the Act for the different states and union territories, which is repealed by Juvenile Justice Act 1986. So Juvenile Justice Act 1986, which was also amended later on, aims at giving the effect to the guidelines contained in the standard minimum rules for the administration of juvenile justice adopted by the UN countries in November 1985. So basically, these are the laws which deals and regulate with the drug abuse amongst children.
Ji sir, thank you, sir. Sir, if you can tell us about the provisions of the NDPS, that's the National Drug and Psychotropic Substances Act. What are the provisions with regards to drug abuse in that act? We'll be very grateful, sir.
As far as the provisions are concerned, I think rather than provisions, as far as the topic of today is concerned, it is important to go by the objective of the NDPS Act 1985. So पहले हम objective को समझ लें, which is more important, because जैसा कि Dr. Rajiv and Dr. Indumati has explained in today's topic कि क्यों इस एक्ट की ज़रूरत है और क्या इस एक्ट का relation है with regard to child drug abuse. So this is an act to consolidate and amend the law relating to the narcotic drugs to make stringent provisions for the control and regulation of operations relating to narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances. So narcotic, as we expand the term Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act, which is also known as NDPS Act, it is made with the purpose to control drug abuse and prohibits its use, dissipation, its distribution, manufacture, and trade of the substances of abuse. So narcotic drugs are those which may induce sleep, while psychotropic substances have the ability to alter the mind of an individual. So NDPS Act came into existence on 14th of November 1985. These kinds of drugs have their importance in the practice of medicine as well. We cannot dispute this fact. But thus the Act also has the provisions for the cultivation of cannabis, poppy, and coca plants, and manufacture of any other psychotropic substances dealing with the medicinal practices. So main agenda of the Act, we can say, is to have a control on manufacturing, possession, sale, and transport of such narcotic and psychotropic substances. The Act further bans around 200 psychotropic substances resultant upon these drugs, which are not available over the country for a walk in individual. These drugs are on sale only when prescription for the same is available. Violation of the law, because if there is somebody who is violating the law with regard to that, then there is a punishment and fine, or both of them, as far as the offensive and the penal sections of the Act are concerned. So the degree of the punishment, as far as the Act is concerned, is depending upon the harshness of the case and depending upon the facts and the legal analogy of the case. So definitely, if the drugs are being used for personal use, then the punishment may be lesser. And if they are being used for commercial sale, if the quantity of the possessed drug is for commercial sale, certainly the penalty is going to be different. So these are the the outlining provisions and the outlining objectives of the NDPS Act 1985.
Sir, we also have the Juvenile Justice Act.
Yes.
And Juvenile Justice Act के अंदर काफी provisions हैं जो बच्चे victims हैं drug abuse के या drug trafficking के उनके लिए. तो सर, क्या आप वो कुछ provisions के बारे में हमें बता सकते हैं?
जी हाँ. For the reason that as far as Juvenile Justice Act is concerned, as regard to the children drug abuse is concerned, this is one of the major legislations we can call. The first step, as I stated above, was taken by the Government of India in justice for children was via National Children Act 1960. This act was replaced with Juvenile Justice Act 1986, and in 1992, India ratified the United Nations Convention for the Rights of Child, the UNCRC, and to adapt the standards of the convention, the Act of Juvenile Justice Act 2000 was passed. So JJ Act 2000 dealt with two categories of children, which we'll be discussing today: child in conflict with law and child in need of care and protection. So even the legislation which has been passed with regard to the two categories of children. I will repeat that: child in conflict with law and child in need of care and protection. So as per Juvenile Justice Act 2000, a juvenile is a person who is below the 18 years of age. This act has a provision that a child in conflict with law cannot be treated as an adult. So if a child is convicted for any offense, he may spend a minimum of 3 years in institutional care. And this act further empowered child welfare committees to deal with the child in need, care and protection. Juvenile justice boards have been empowered to deal with the child in conflict of law. Further, once it was replaced by the earlier act, the Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Act 2000 replaced and came up with the Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Act 2015, which came into force on 15th of January 2016. In that, the term juvenile means a person who has not completed the 18 years of age and is below the age of 18 years. So therefore, juvenile, that is the child in conflict with law, means a child who has committed an offense but has not completed 18 years of age as on date when the offense took place. And under the Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Act 2015, it provides for the criminal responsibility, and the age of criminal majority starts from the age of 16 to 18 years. Whosoever commits a serious offense, which also attracts a minimum 7 years of imprisonment. But no child under Juvenile Justice Act 2015 can be awarded a death penalty or a life imprisonment. So it is better to further enumerate some of the salient features of Juvenile Justice Act 2014. First of all, coming to the children in conflict with law. It treats all the children below 18 years equally, except that in those with the age group of 16 to 18 years can be tried as adults if they commit a heinous crime. A child of 16 to 18 years age who commits a lesser offense may be tried as an adult if he is apprehended after the age of 21 years. Now, a heinous offense, as I have earlier stated in point number 1, a heinous offense attracts a minimum 7 years of imprisonment, but to the contrary, a serious offense attracts in between 3 years to 7 years of imprisonment, and the petty offense is treated with a 3 years imprisonment. No child can be awarded death penalty or life imprisonment. Further, the Act mandates setting up of juvenile justice board in each district with a metropolitan magistrate and 2 social workers, including a woman. The juvenile justice board will have to conduct an inquiry, a preliminary inquiry, we can say, of the crime committed by a child within a specified time period, and decides whether he should be sent to a rehabilitation center or sent to a children's court to be tried as an adult. The board can certainly, they are allowed to take the help of a psychologist or social workers and other experts to take that particular decision. So, a last point with regard to this children under the conflict with law is that the children's court is a special court set up under the Commission for Protection of Child Rights Act 2005, or a special court under the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act 2012. Now, further, children in need of care and protection. Earlier, it was with regard to children in conflict with law. Now, it is with regard to children in need for care and protection. Child welfare committees should be set up in each district, having its chairperson and 4 other members who have an experience in dealing with children. One of the 4 members must be a woman as per the statute. The committee decides whether an abandoned child should be sent to the care home or put up for adoption. This is also one of the options which has been given. So, to summarize the entire Juvenile Justice Act, it is necessary to understand that Juvenile Justice Act, it empowers the Juvenile Justice Board, which may also seek the help and decision from psychologists and sociologists on the board, and decide if a juvenile criminal in the age group of 16 to 18 years should be tried as an adult or not. Further, the Act may also has also introduced foster care in India. And as per this, families can sign up, and the orphan children, those in conflict with law, can also be sent. But such families would be monitored, and as far as the act, the contents of the act are concerned, they might also receive some financial aid from the state as well. Now, the law with regard to the Juvenile Justice Act has also made provisions that while adopting child, priority is given to the disabled children, physically and financially incapable children as well. Now, lastly, as far as the penal part of the act is concerned, the law mandates that any person who is giving alcohol or drugs to the child would be punished with 7 years imprisonment or rupees 1 lakh fine or both. And a person selling a child would be imprisoned for 5 years or rupees 1 lakh fine or both. So these were the provisions in brief or in summary as far as the contents of the Juvenile Justice Act are concerned. I hope I have answered this query with regard to the question which was posted.
Ji, thank you, sir. Within Juvenile Justice Act, there are specific provisions with regards to a child who is using drugs, especially with relation to childcare institutions, in which the child may then be sent to a mental health institution for detoxification and addiction procedure. And the CWC and the JJB would be monitoring this process and would then be ensuring that the child does not go back to drug addiction. So the Juvenile Justice Act also talks about these issues, and it's a very comprehensive law. Sir, there's another aspect to drug abuse. एक तो drug abuse होता है जहाँ बच्चे use कर रहे हैं drugs for their own self. दूसरा है drug trafficking. So what is drug trafficking and how are children used to peddle these drugs? And then if you can tell us from your own experience, what has been the implementation of these laws with regards to drug abuse and drug trafficking?
Look, if we understand a basic definition of drug trafficking, as the word suggests, it is we can say it is an illicit trade, not only in one country, but I would say globally, involving the cultivation, manufacturing, distribution, and sale of substances which are subject to the drug prohibition laws. Now, as far as the drug peddling among children is concerned, we can understand because as a lawyer I have dealt with some of the cases in which, from my experience, I can say that the peddlers are basically targeting the children who are going to school, especially the government schools. And as Dr. Rajiv also earlier pointed out, that if you check the bags, sometimes you might find the drug or the into the bags itself. So drug peddling among teenagers in the state is really a cause of concern. Peddlers earlier used to rely upon the we can say the selling qua the students or the college students. But these days, we cannot dispute the fact that peddlers are also relying upon the technology part as well. So even they are also misusing the e-commerce site platforms for buying and selling of drugs as well. So, so yes, there are certain different kind of peddling which is being involved. But it is important to understand that that why the children are getting or being involved into peddling of drugs. This is also necessary to understand. So before proceeding, it is further, it is important to understand the basic causes of drug trafficking among children. Uh, I don't dispute particularly anybody, but in my opinion, in my personal opinion, I say that parents who smoke themselves can't stop their children from smoking because they are themselves involved into it. And if at all, and I think Dr. Mehta and Dr. Rao very rightly pointed out that if at all they stop, there is always a conflict. There is always a rage amongst the children, which spoils the relationship, which spoils the harmonious construction of the entire family. So children don't know whether their actions are good or bad. I would say during the adolescent age, they could realize what is right or wrong, but not know about the consequences. The needs of the children are sometimes bigger than the parents' need. So the children need to do the. Sometimes the children do the wrong things to satisfy their own needs. So the basic the reasons with regard to mention can be called as poverty, the atmosphere of the society, I would say, because no doubt we are taking care of societies like you are also taking care of the children drug abuse, the children who are involved into such kind of nefarious activities. But at the same time, in the society also, such children are given a stigma which leads or which provokes them towards depression, a social anxiety. It can be a stress disorder, it can be mental pain, and they stand to use the drug again to lessen that distress feeling. Next, the reason basic can be the family atmosphere. Nowadays, sometimes both the parents are working, so the child will be alone. They leave the children in the house, and sometimes, if the child is in a bad community, in that eventuality also, the such in such cases also the child may end up to be a drug abuser. Further, as far as the drug abusers also used to sell drugs, the drug dealers and the gangsters are selling drug through that drug abuser. They also sometimes provide a psychological mind wash of the child at an adolescent age, and then they sell the drugs to the others just for the sake of their own profit making thing. Sometimes the what we have seen in the society, sometimes in the cases which have come with regard to that, sometimes the child says that I was only experimenting for the intake of the drug, but he landed up in some kind of legal battle which shows him to be an addicted towards that illegal drug. And what we have sometimes seen, because I certainly belong from the state of Punjab, so we have also sometimes seen that media is these days is not just an entertainer, but it also sometimes draws a face towards the emotion and feelings of the children. So sometimes there are some songs or some status which has been given which displays the intake of drugs, is also somewhat wrong, or it's somewhat bad, because it's somewhere or the other it is promoting the relation which doesn't suit the society at all. So as far as the contents of this query is concerned, so there are some of the legal aspect of this subject as well. So I think the drugs are really dangerous to the person physically, to the child, as well as psychologically. So we have to take care of these things with regard to the psychological, physical, to achieve and to come against the legal battle and the legal causes and the provisions which have been mentioned in the acts as well.
Thank you so much, sir. To all our panelists, thank you for this detailed and very, very insightful conversation जो हमने आज की है about drug abuse amongst children. एक message I hope गया हो कि drug abuse is एक बहुत बड़ा issue है, बहुत ही, and जैसे हमारे speakers ने आज बताया है, बहुत ही complex issue है, and इस पे काफी काम करने की जरूरत है. आप अपने बच्चों का ध्यान रखना बहुत ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है, एंड आपको निगरानी रखनी है बच्चों की कि वो ऐसे गलत जगह ऐसे ना जाएं जहां वो ड्रग अब्यूज कर सके, क्योंकि उनकी हेल्थ पे इम्पैक्ट पड़ता है, जो उन्हें आगे जाके कई दिक्कतें उन्हें फेस करनी पड़ती है. Thank you so much to our panelists for taking time out. I would now like to present the vote of thanks. Firstly, I would like to thank Mrs. Jyoti Majumdar and who's the president of Chetna, and Mrs. Pragya Parande, who's the founder of Chetna, for their guidance and support. I want to thank our speakers जिन्होंने अपना टाइम निकाला संडे को हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए, एंड एक बहुत ही detailed and सुंदर discussion किया on this issue, a very important issue of drug abuse amongst children. I would also like to extend my gratitude to Tanjul Kapoor, who is from Team Chetna, and for her assistance in the technical support of this webinar. Last but not the least, I'd like to thank everybody who's joined us today. Thank you so much for hearing us and listening to us, and for your love and support. Please do share your feedback to us on our email ID, that's chetnafordelhi@gmail.com. And you can also join us next Sunday again for another issue that we'll take up with regards to child rights. Till then, stay safe and thank you. Goodbye. Namaste.